Part 6. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 52. Time goes back to the caretaker's cabin 2 hours ago. Luoluo and Ling were sorting out the tableware and table for breakfast, and simply responded to Ika. After Wei 11 sent him out, she returned to the restaurant. Ling stopped what he was doing. He said he was going to the research laboratory, wasn't he? Is it for Senior Lilith? Brother, he can't hide his worries at all. If he hadn't gone shopping with Sister Ling, he might have gone to Senior Sister Lilith's place yesterday. Obviously Senior Lilith's side is more important. You two must have allowed me to make such a reluctant request to him. This is not a question of which side is more important. As long as my brother knows that yesterday is your birthday, he will definitely find a way to celebrate you. Brother Ika is not good at arranging this kind of thing. If Sister Ling had taken the initiative, there would be no need to bother preparing. But he doesn't know my birthday, right? Could it be that? Sorry, Sister Ling. We asked my brother to pretend not to know. Huh? You can promise me that you will never let him know, that's why I asked him out. Luoluo and Wei 11 admitted their little thoughts, and now there was no need to hide it from Ling. Is that really the case? Ling touched the new hairband on her head. At that time, I thought it was strange that he suddenly gave me a gift. Although she was complaining about trouble, she still showed a sincere smile. But brother didn't say happy birthday to Sister Ling, right? I will find an opportunity for him to make it up to you later. Don't. This time it turned out to be a strange development because of me. If you go out of your way to remind him, absolutely don't. Sister Ling, brother Ika gave that hair tie to you for some reason. Wei 11's problem is also Luoluo's problem. Although they did hold a small exchange meeting last night, Ling did not mention this gift at that time. Luoluo and Wei 11 saw this headband for the first time this morning. They didn't ask about it during breakfast because the person involved, Ika, was also here, so they were worried. Well, it's a thank you gift. Thank you, for my brother, this is a good reason. Even if Ling didn't explain in detail, Luoluo had already guessed what it meant. As expected of brother and sister, it would be great if Ika could have a little bit of Lolo's sensibility. Ling really hopes so at this moment. Speaking of which, should we follow my brother quietly now? We already know his destination anyway. Even if you follow me, you can't enter the ward. Senior Lilith probably doesn't want to talk about family matters when everyone is around. Otherwise, at that time, Ika obviously doesn't need to hide it from us like this. It's okay to explain it clearly and we won't stop him. Ahaha, brother Ika must have a lot to think about. Ling was obviously dissatisfied with Ika's half-covered attitude, so Wei 11 smiled bitterly this time. Isn't there a person here who is half-covered? Brother should be able to solve it properly. We just need to wait at home for him to come back. What a standard wife's speech. I'm just a sister. Luoluo responded to Ling's teasing perfectly and seamlessly. However, when she said this, Ling and Wei 11 did not catch the trace of emotion flashing in her eyes. Today, Zuko was still enjoying snacks idly in the student council room, while Tyruya took her place and sat at the desk filled with documents. President, the agreed 10-minute break has ended long ago. Oh, sorry, I didn't pay attention. Chiuke put down the teacup in her hand without any care and skipped back to her desk. Tyruya didn't even have the energy to get angry. After putting down the pen in her hand, she left her seat and fell directly into the sofa for guests. The structure of the student union room is basically the same as that of the principal's room, but beside the floor-to-ceiling windows is a low table for tea parties that only students can use. The low table is piled with snacks and other refreshments, and various secret items can be seen everywhere. Bring in personal items. Not only Tyruya, but also the secretary and accountant often remind Chiuke to tidy up the student union room, but you can tell at a glance whether it is useful or not. Most of the announcements and inquiries from Shigetsuki Academy are posted directly on the PDA bulletin board, and not many people visit the student council room in person. Xiaoyaya, where did you put the seal? Isn't it on the table? Not here. Then it should be in the drawer on the second floor. I didn't use that thing just now. Oh, it's really in this drawer. President. Chiuke was about to put the seal on the document, but when Tilyuya stopped her, a big question mark seemed to appear on her head. The documents I have reviewed are from the stack on your left. The ones you are holding are those that have not yet been reviewed. Ah, that's it? Tyru looked up at the ceiling again. The new student union has been running for half a year, and I have unknowingly become accustomed to this kind of life, like taking care of children. Although Chiuke was only a first-year student, he became the president of the Shimizuki Academy Student Union. This was inseparable from something that happened when he entered school. This was also the reason why Tyruya was willing to assist her as the vice president. The soreness in her shoulders finally subsided a little. Tyruya picked up a biscuit from the table in front of her and put it into her mouth. The sweet but not greasy taste is paired with the crispy texture. No wonder Chiuke always likes to bring this biscuit over for tea. Speaking of which, I didn't expect to meet her again so soon. To be honest, my prejudice against Ling has basically disappeared now. I just don't know what the other person thinks of me, so I will inevitably feel a sense of resistance in my heart when meeting. If there is a chance, I hope to have a good chat with her. After all, the number of times the two will meet will increase greatly in the future. Tyruya looked at Chiuke, who was struggling with the thick documents. It is said to be a struggle, but in fact it is just a simple work with hands. All the documents that I reviewed before have been stamped. Ling's application form for joining the discipline team is included. Xiaoyaya, what are we going to do next? Well, looking at the dazzling sunshine outside the window, Tilyuya had no intention of going out. Then let's finish the accumulated work at once. I do not want. President, do you know why work accumulates and becomes so much? Even if I am usually lazy, there is no need to waste all my youth in the morning on these black and white words. Do you dare to repeat the sentence in front of Instructor Letica, who will come to check the progress of the work tomorrow? It didn't take long for Tutor Letica to transform from a student to a tutor. Principal Phyllis arranged another special position for her, student council advisor, hoping that she could start working as soon as possible. In other words, Principal Phyllis just handed over the task of training Letica as a teacher to the student council. Those things can be done in the afternoon. Now I want to go outside and play. Like a child, Chiuke was lying on the desk and causing trouble. If she is not allowed to go out and bask in the sun, she will not work well if she stays here. Tyruya sighed. Fortunately, she had already prepared a compromise choice. That's it? Lilu and Xiao are in the office on the second floor now, and they will finish the matter in about 10 minutes. After they come back, we will go to the affiliated hospital to visit Lilith. After returning in the afternoon, you must finish the work before school, got it? The two people Tyruya mentioned were Rilu, the secretary of the student union, and Akatsuya, the accountant. Lilu and Chiuki are both first-year students, and Xiao is a second-year student like Tyruya. The four of them are from different classes, but they have been getting along with each other for half a year, and the level of trust between them is even outperformed his classmates. Learn. Chiuke energetically agreed to Tilyuya's request. I agreed pretty quickly. Tilyuya put on a smile with ulterior motives. By the way, if it doesn't go as planned, there will be a surprise waiting for you. Ah. You didn't say that just now. You agreed first. Well, Chiuke hesitated now, and it was too late, and finally gave up thinking and ate the snacks on the table. I also want to do what I can. Tyruya looked at Zuko with her mouth full, smiled bitterly and sat next to her. After a while, Lilu and Xiao came back from doing things. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 53. Really, at that time? After Ika raised that question, the smile on Senior Lilith's face disappeared and her voice became much softer. Did they notice it too? Senior Sister Lilith did not speak again. Is it really something you don't want to say? If this is the case, Ika will give up decisively, and there is no reason to linger on this issue. Actually, it's not something that is difficult to talk about. Even if you bring it up that day, I will tell you. Senior Sister Lilith took a deep breath and said the opposite meaning to Ika's expectation. But thank you for considering me so specially. The depressed mood has disappeared, and Senior Lilith is still the same look that Ika is familiar with. Actually, the reason why Mother looks so unhappy is because of me. I came to Frost Moon Academy hoping to become the national magician of the Bis Empire. This is something Mother strongly opposes. The national magician is an ordinary position under the nobility in the Bis Empire. Between the national magician as part of the national military force and the nobles whose status is second only to the royal family, there are also the imperial knights who serve the royal family and various important political positions. Senior Lilith did not deny that her family was a prestigious noble in the Bis Empire, so her mother objected to Lilith becoming a national magician because she did not want to degrade herself. I don't know what my father looks like. He was no longer by my side when I was sensible. Ika, who was prepared to be a silent listener from beginning to end, couldn't help but insert herself into Senior Lilith's memories when she heard this. Noticing her rude behavior, Ika sheepishly asked Lilith Senpai to continue. From what my mother said, I think that my father was a great national magician. At least during his lifetime, that was the case. During her lifetime, to put it this way, her father was no longer alive. It seems that he died in the line of duty, but there was no public report on the incident. Originally, I wanted to find my father's footprints, and I asked my mother for help, but I was rejected, and I was told not to have any contact with that matter again. That's right. From that moment on, Mother has clearly opposed my targeting of national magicians. Since the partner of Lady Elise, a noble, is also a national magician, the difference in status should not be the main reason for her opposition to Senior Lilith. But you are still staying in Shimizuki Academy. Didn't you get your mother's consent? Because I insisted on it, she did ostensibly agree. On the surface. My mother didn't give me the funds I need to live here, so part of the part-time job I'm doing now is to solve this problem. This is a bit too much. Perhaps I was hoping to use this method to make me give up. However, after I tried part-time work, I noticed that I already liked this job. Hearing this, Ika had another confusion. Why do you have to persist to this point? Isn't it a good choice to give up becoming a national magician and inherit the family business? Maybe you are right, most people think so. Senior Sister Lilith stood up from the bed and walked to the window. Mother is a very famous architect and one of the people in charge of the reconstruction of the imperial capital. First, if you inherit the family business, your career and life will be much easier. In that case. But I don't want to spend my whole life like this. It has nothing to do with what my father and mother think. I also have goals that I want to achieve. Senior Sister Lilith leaned on the bed, the cool breeze blew, and the hair tie she tied after bathing flying in the wind. Would you like to hear the story of my childhood? Senior Lilith looked directly at Ika, her blue pupils bottomless. Ika realized that she was getting closer to Senior Lilith's inner self. But why did she show her heart so unguardedly? Is it because she trusts herself, or is it because of other reasons that she doesn't know? Ika had a premonition. If you listen to her tell that story, something will definitely change. Then, Senior Sister Lilith slowly began to narrate that past event, a past event that had long been forgotten deep in someone's memory. After sorting the tableware, Just as the girls were planning how to make full use of the weekend without classes, Wei 11 received a special contact on her PDA. The other party should not have his own contact information, and Liu Yan never mentioned giving it to her. Therefore, when she received the contact, Wei 11 didn't know what to do. What's wrong, Xioxi? Is it the message from that guy? The other two girls noticed Wei 11's strange appearance. It's not Brother Ika. What Wei 11 said was another name that she had heard a lot recently. Professor Coconut. Until now, except for Ika, no one has directly met Professor Coconut, who is shrouded in mystery. Their understanding of Professor Coconut is limited to Ika's verbal description. I remember Ika said before that she returned to the Holy See, right? Has she returned to Frost Moon Academy now? Well, she seems to be very free now. Brother Ika and Xiaoan are not here, so she wanted me to go to her place. Wei 11 obviously looked reluctant. When Ika mentioned that Professor Coconut was also a Blue Knight affiliated with the Holy See, Wei 11 just nodded in agreement absently and did not respond too much. At that time, everyone's understanding was that although they were of the same class, the relationship between Wei 11 and Coconut was not close, but as it is now, it must not be that simple reason. Xiao 11, between you and Professor Coconut. Luo couldn't find the right words to express what he meant. I'm just not good at dealing with her. Wei 11 looked confused. Because of Xiaoan, she seems to regard me as her opponent. Rival? Did he do anything to you? All Ling could think of was things like class struggle. But I have heard before that Coconut, like Wei 11 and Lu Yin, are children from an orphanage. They shouldn't develop that kind of intrigue relationship, right? It's not what you imagined. Wei 11 panicked and stopped Ling and Luo from their delusions. Speaking of being an opponent, she is only obsessed with some strange aspects. What do you mean by weird aspects? Well, it's just the tone of voice, the way you dress, etc. Ah, I can probably guess what's going on. Luo, who is the same age as Professor Coconut, quickly formed a composition in his mind. If it's really like what I guessed, it's really childish. Looking at it like this, you probably can't go there by yourself, right? I do have time to spend with you. Anyway, I don't have any special plans before Ika comes back. I also want to say hello to my brother's professional mentor. Of course, although it was their initiative, they would still respect Wei 11's own opinion. Please be sure to accompany me. As if she had seen a savior, Wei 11 bowed deeply to the two friends in front of her who were willing to lend a helping hand. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 54. Just when Senior Lilith was about to speak, there was a polite knock on the door. Senior Lilith looked at Ika with confused eyes. I'll open the door. Ika gets up and leaves. In addition to confusion, Senior Lilith's eyes were full of regret. What exactly was she trying to convey? Ika didn't know, but she was undeniably relieved at this moment. Chiuke. Hey, I'm here to disturb you. Don't be so noisy in the hospital. The person who followed him knocked Chiuke's head mercilessly. Sorry for disturbing you. Senior Tyrua didn't show any surprise when she saw Ika in Senior Lilith's hospital room. Excuse me. Soft voice. The little girl who bowed her head gently to greet Ika. Ika remembered that she was the student council member standing next to Chiuke during the assembly. Is this our first meeting? The little girl showed an innocent smile. I am Lilu from the first year Aries class. First time we meet. I am the student union secretary, Xiao from the second year Lion class. Although she looks very delicate, Akatsuya senpai is indeed a male. Standing next to Ika, he was half a head taller than Ika. Everyone from the student union, you are here. Senior sister Lilith also walked out of the ward. Lilith, are you feeling better? I have to call her senior. Sorry, Lilith, the president's habit has not changed yet. Xiaoyaya, what do you mean? Thank you everyone. Thanks to Ika-san, I expect to be discharged from the hospital tomorrow. After saying that, Senior Lilith smiled at Ika, who didn't know why she was being thanked. Indeed, classmate Ika, thanks to you this time Xiao took over what Senior Lilith said, because we haven't seen each other since the night before yesterday, so I can't thank you in person. Not only Lilith, our student union would also like to thank you for controlling the damage to a minimum. The serious tone really matched the impression of Akatsuki-senpai. Being thanked so formally, Ika had to think about how to respond appropriately. If a third-level monster emerges from the river and targets the buildings in Shigetsuki Academy, the consequences will be disastrous. Moreover, the student dormitory is very close to the scene. At that time, ordinary students cannot immediately react. Senior Tairuya analyzed things very thoroughly and was worthy of being the leader of the discipline team. Speaking of which, Vice President, have you and Ika known each other before? Akatsuki seemed to be interested in a certain detail in what Senior Tairuya said just now. Because of a little thing, before they entered Frost Moon Academy, they were entertained by my sister in our country. A terrorist attack of that scale was actually brushed aside by Tailua-senpai with little things. And really? This is really a wonderful fate. Senior Xiao actually had no doubts about this. With the arrival of everyone from the student union, the ward seems a little small. Senior Lilith seemed to be familiar with the people in the student union. After staying for a while, Ika stood up to say goodbye and prepare to leave. Ika-san, please wait a moment. Ika, who had already walked outside the ward, heard Senior Sister Lilith's voice and stopped and turned around. Senior Sister Lilith said something to everyone in the room, and then quickly caught up with them. What's wrong, Senior Lilith? Well, let me take you downstairs. But the student union. I told them that they will wait for me in the ward during this time. Besides, it doesn't take long to go downstairs from here. After explaining the reason to the nurse at the registration desk on the first floor, Senior Sister Lilith obtained permission to go out. I'm sorry, Senior Sister Lilith, it's obvious that your body is not yet. This is a very bad habit. Senior Lilith stopped and pressed her finger on Ika's lips. The sudden movement made Ika take a few steps back in panic. Obviously I want to thank you for bringing me out. She showed a smile of success in mischief and retracted her finger. If I am the only one, I will definitely not be able to get permission to go out. Strolling along the main street under the sun, Senior Lilith stretched her arms to her heart's content. When they were indoors, Ika didn't notice that a thin white hospital uniform completely exposed Senior Lilith's beautiful figure. I have no self-awareness. Although you can just look away, there are many other people outside. Senior Lilith, let's stop here. I want to stay outside for a little longer. Everyone in the student union is still waiting for you. Besides, you can be discharged from the hospital tomorrow. I will come to see you again when you are discharged, so please hold on, Senior Sister Lilith. Ika persuaded Lilith-senpai like a child, and she also noticed that it was rude to keep everyone in the student council waiting. Ika and Senior Lilith waved goodbye in the atrium of the hospital. After watching the figure of Senior Lilith disappear at the entrance of the hospital building, Ika turned and left. In the end, what was the past that Senior Lilith didn't have time to tell? If you miss this opportunity, it may be difficult to get in touch with it again in the future. But this is enough. At least, the distance is no longer far. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 55. A few days after Senior Lilith was discharged from the hospital, everyone used the weekend to visit Senior Lilith at her house in the imperial capital. I'm sorry, It's all because of mother's request. After Wei 11 asked Lu Yin to investigate Sister Lilith's family background, she quickly got the answer. Lady Elisa's family has produced famous engineers for generations, and Lady Elise came to prominence during the post-war reconstruction of the empire. She was elected as the chief engineer because of her family history, and she fulfilled her responsibilities and actively assisted in other reconstruction efforts. The encounter with Lilith Senpai's father also happened during that period. In comparison, Senior Lilith's father seemed unknown. There is no other information about him except that he was a national magician who sacrificed his life for the country. How did the two of them meet? Along the way, the girls were discussing this topic. Senior Lilith's description was very vague, and she only understood it from Ms. Elisa's dictation. It is difficult to leave a deep impression on things that have not been experienced personally. There was only one thing that Lilith remembered very clearly. That is, when Ms. Elise talks about her husband, she always has a happy smile on her face. Although Ms. Elise also had such a smile before Senior Lilith entered Frost Moon Academy, it was far from the happiness her husband brought her. This caused a small sense of loss in Senior Lilith's heart, but it was indeed an indisputable fact. Lady Elise is opposed to Senior Lilith becoming a national magician, which may have something to do with her father. Ika vaguely thinks so. Brother, the airship has entered the port. We probably won't be able to catch up with that class. There are already a lot of people queuing in front of us. Senior Lilith is now in the waiting hall of the airport with Ika and her friends, waiting for the new airship to arrive. Because the train stopped on the road and was delayed for some time, the tickets for the airship scheduled to be taken were already sold out. Taking the train directly is also an option, but the journey takes too long and is not included in the discussion. There are only 2 days on the weekend, and it only takes more than an hour to reach the imperial capital airport by airship. Compared to the nearly 10 hours of riding on the magic train when I came here, the speed was not at the same level. Half an hour after the airship in front of me takes off, the next airship will enter the port. After Ika purchased tickets for 5 people at the service desk, she returned to the bench where everyone was waiting. Are we just going to sit here and wait? It seems like there will still be some time before this flight takes off. The airship will take about 20 minutes to prepare from entering the port to taking off. In fact, everyone now has nearly an hour of free time. Remember that Chiuke's home is very close to here, right? The president's house, does it mean the restaurant run by their family? Well, has Senior Lilith been there too? That's right. She smiled slightly and agreed. Chiuke is still staying in Chiu Academy instead of at home. The ones who receive them are Chiuke's father and mother. It was normal for them not to remember the 4 Ikas, because it was Chiuke himself who was in charge of reception that time, and everyone only visited that time. Surprisingly, both Chiuke's parents knew Senior Lilith. Because of her as an intermediary and the atmosphere in the family restaurant, everyone felt as comfortable as returning home. Chiuke's father's generous character may be one of the reasons. After knowing that everyone was Chiuke's friend, he gave everyone an iced drink as a gift. Senior Lilith, do you have any special relationship with Chiuke's father and Chiuke's mother? Luoluo felt very incredible. Senior Lilith's attitude when talking to the boss and the boss's wife was not like ordinary regulars. There is no special relationship, Senior Sister Lilith replied to Luoluo with a smile of why do you ask, I just came here to visit at the invitation of the president. The first time I came here, I remember it was half a year ago. Before, during the student union election. Student union election? Could it be that Senior Lilith was also a member of the student union when she was in the 1st grade? Ika had thought of this possibility when everyone from the student union came to visit Senior Sister Lilith in the affiliated hospital. I am the student union secretary of the previous term, Senior Sister Lilith told the shocking fact calmly. Hey, didn't I say that before? No, absolutely not. That's it? Senior sister Lilith suddenly realized, now it happens that we have to wait for a long time, so let me talk about what happened when the student union changes. A piece of history that no one would know was slowly told by senior sister Lilith. The last student union was also like now, consisting of 4 people in total, the president, vice president, secretary and accountant. Except for me, the other 3 were all sophomores. Like Chiuke, a first-year student, he was elected president when he was young, which is said to be the first case since the founding of Shigetsuki Academy. In order to be different from the members of the previous student union, senior sister Lilith did not call Chiuke the president here as usual. Is there another story behind this? Of course there is, but if we talk about that story, we don't have enough time. Besides most of the students at Frost Moon Academy know that story, so it's no longer a secret. If you have the opportunity, you can ask the classmates around you. Senior sister Lilith expressed this to Lolo, who asked the question. Chiuke himself has no intention of participating in the election. However, in addition to participating in the campaign speech, there is another way to participate in the student union election, and that is to be directly nominated by the president of the student union or the leader of the discipline team. At that time, Chiu was nominated, but my classmate is my senior, who is now in her 3rd year and was also the student council president of the previous term. After being directly nominated, the next selection criterion is the number of student votes. However, if the nominee does not have the will, the quota will be invalid. Generally speaking, after being nominated, no one will choose to refuse. However, it goes against common sense. People still exist. Everyone has already thought of what Senior Lilith said next. Chiuke rejected this nomination. If there is a reason, I won't mention it here. On the day of the election, Chiuke asked for sick leave and did not come to Shimatsuki Academy. No one interrupted Lilith's memories. After learning about the past of the seemingly silly monitor, they didn't even know what to say. Judging from Chiuke's innocent and lively appearance on weekdays, I would never have imagined that she would have such an experience. This kind of complicated matter cannot be related to Chiuke at all. This is the reason why I visited here for the first time. Chiuke had already obtained 2/3 of the votes in Shimazuki Academy before the speech. Even the students who were originally planning to run for the president also chose to abstain. Here is something to mention. Yes, the other party did not abstain due to the situation, but explained the reasons to the campaign committee when Chiuke was nominated, and she believed that Chiuke was more suitable for this position. As long as Chiuke expresses her willingness, she will be confirmed as the next student council president without any suspense. On the contrary, if she is unwilling, the position of student council president will be vacant. We are visiting here just to know who she is. My real thoughts? At that time, Chiuke still locked herself in the room and kept using her physical discomfort as an excuse to refuse to come out. I won't go into details. In the end, it can be said that we dragged her out of the room. Kidnapping arrived at the venue. You can imagine the scene painted by senior sister Lilith, where the crying and noisy Chiuke was easily picked up and taken away. What we thought at the time was that no matter what she would say on stage, we should at least let her know the mood of the students who supported her. When Chiuke came on stage, the students in the audience kept shouting for her name. Probably frightened by the momentum, she stood on the stage stupidly until the shouting disappeared. I remember it seemed like a full 5 minutes. As senior sister Lilith was talking, she seemed to be back in that scene, and even she couldn't help laughing. The follow-up is, as you know, she became the student council president as she is now. That child worked really hard to respond to everyone's expectations. Senior Lilith, do you and Tairuya, senpai, have a good relationship? Aika blurted out Tairuya senpai's name, and after realizing the difference in school years, she added the honorific. Yes, Tairuya is a very responsible person. Ling said nothing. What was she thinking now? Lululo and Way 11 looked at her intentionally or unintentionally. I have submitted an application form to the student union to join the discipline team. In the end, she just said this kind of thing that had nothing to do with the topic. This is enough to express her attitude. As the leader of the discipline team, Tyrua is very strict. Then, senior sister Lilith revealed some episodes about Chiuke after becoming the student council president, and before she knew it, it was time to leave. After thanking Chiuke's parents, the 5 people hurried to the airport. Fortunately, the boarding time was not missed. The airship carried everyone steadily towards the center of the busy empire, the imperial capital. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 56. Before noon, the airship carrying 5 people entered the Eastern District Airport of the imperial capital. After a month, I visited the imperial capital again, and the familiar air was refreshing. Sure enough, I feel like I'm home here. Lululo smiled at Aika. Way 11 and Ling must have felt the same way. The time I lived in this land was not long, but it was an unforgettable time. I just contacted my family and the car to pick us up is already waiting outside the airport. She said this while swiping the PDA screen. Such a natural attitude made everyone realize once again that Senior Lilith was the eldest lady born in that world. The black elongated motorcycle was parked beside the road at the airport exit. It felt out of place with the surroundings and was very conspicuous. The young man who seemed to be the driver opened the door for everyone. Miss Lilith and my friends have been waiting for a long time. Ling's intuition told him that this young man was more than just a driver for Senior Lilith's family. He could feel the tempered aura from his body. Thank you for your hard work, Klaus. Miss Lilith has said it. Even after being praised by Senior Lilith, the young man known as Klaus still maintained a meticulous attitude. He was truly a professional butler. In Aika's impression, noble families generally have strict housekeepers and attentive maids. These are the knowledge they learned from fairy tale books in their childhood. What the truth is, can be verified with his own eyes soon. Thinking of this, Aika feels a little excited. Then, Klaus got into the driver's seat, leaving the passenger seat free. The rear part of the car is like a small room, with high-grade material seats arranged in a pie shape on the body and rear of the car. Klaus drove at a moderate speed, and except for the acceleration felt at the start and the inertia when cornering, it felt as smooth as indoors at other times. Aika, who had previously thought that the girls had finished their conversation on the way here, realized now that she really didn't understand them very well. From the time the train departed until they arrived in front of senior sister Lilith's mansion, their chat never stopped. Anecdotes in Chiyu Academy, interesting trivia in life, newly opened shops in the business district, no matter whether it is big or small, in the world of girls, they seem to be issues worthy of serious discussion. Aika would occasionally be brought into the conversation by others, but she really didn't understand their world very well. As for the girls, they didn't seem to have any special expectations for him, they just brought up new topics to him from time to time. This process was repeated over and over again, and when he came to his senses, a mansion far away from the city had appeared outside the car window. After everyone got off the car in front of the main entrance, which had a medieval artistic feel, Klaus slowly drove the car forward along the road. The garage is built separately from the mansion. Remember, Liu Yin's garage is built in the courtyard. The symmetrically designed garden unfolds in front of you, and the most eye-catching thing is the purple orchid bushes in full bloom. In addition, the flowers in the garden are all pruned in a unique style. There are automatic sprinklers in the flowers. The splashing water droplets reflect the sunlight, and small rainbows can be seen everywhere. Wow! Brother, look there. Lululo excitedly tugged on the sighing Aika. Following the direction of Lululo's finger, a heavenly swallowtail butterfly stopped among the stamens of a purple orchid. If it hadn't been for the slight swing of its wings, it would have been impossible to spot it. That butterfly looks like Sister Ling's hair accessory, so beautiful. Wei 11's compliment made Ling's cheeks turn slightly red, and she subconsciously reached out and touched the hair accessory Ika gave her. Ling, that headband is very cute. Where did you buy it? Where is it? Although it is a store in a commercial street, I didn't pay attention to the name of the store when I entered. Ling looked at Ika with questioning eyes, and Ika shook her head to express that she didn't know. Is this a gift from Ika to Ling? Senior Lilith discerned the connection between the two just through this small movement. Well, that's it? Senior Sister Lilith smiled and did not continue to ask further. While talking and laughing, everyone had already passed through the huge garden. The door of the house, which was still some distance away, opened automatically. No, it was pushed open from the inside. Miss Lilith, you are finally back. The girl who walked out quickly was greeted by a girl who looked to be about the same age as Lugo Lugo. She completely ignored Ika and the others and jumped directly into the arms of Senior Lilith, who was walking in front to lead the way. Mrs. Elise has been depressed since she came back from Frost Moon Academy. Klaus also only focused on doing his own things and never thought of helping me. Although the girl was complaining, she looked so happy as she snuggled into Senior Lilith's arms. Could this girl be the maid at Senior Lilith's house? Wait a minute, Sarite, everyone is watching. The maid buried her face into Senior Lilith's motherly chest, savoring the softness. Senior Lilith's face turned slightly red, her eyes wandering between the maid and everyone at a loss. Brother Ika. Wei 11 waved to Ika. Not knowing what she wanted to say to her, Ika squatted down to match Wei 11's height. Then Wei 11 unexpectedly opened her arms and hugged Ika's head tenderly. I can also comfort brother Ika like this. Etc. Because something happened suddenly, Ika was pulled into Wei 11's arms without any resistance. Wei 11 wore a thin dress today, paired with her favorite wide-brimmed hat, exuding the atmosphere of a healing girl in the forest. Her warmth spread directly to Ika's cheek through the thin fabric. Although Wei 11's breasts are not as plump as Senior Lilith's, you can still feel the unique softness of a girl. The sweet smell exuding from her body made Ika's consciousness gradually dim. What are you two doing at Senior Lilith's house? Luoluo blushed and forcefully pulled away Ika and Wei 11, who had entered their world without authorization, and then pulled the two of them to bow their heads and apologize to Senior Sister Lilith and Sarite, who were watching the scene blankly. Wei 11 will become a good wife in the future. Senior Sister Lilith easily broke the awkward atmosphere. With an angelic smile, she bent down and touched Wei 11's little head. How could someone like me? Wei 11's already red face turned even redder. Sorry, I'm just introducing myself now. Everyone's attention was transferred to the maid who was the cause of the incident. I am the only maid in this mansion, my name is Sarite, please don't be restrained and enjoy yourself here. Life. Changing from her appearance, Miss Sarite put her hands in front of her and bowed to everyone. If you hadn't seen the previous scene, everyone would think that Miss Sarite is the model of a maid. The premise is that if you haven't seen it. Huh? Is there anything you want to ask? Miss Sarite seemed to really not know why everyone was looking at her blankly, and she tilted her head cutely. Selite is a very hard-working child. Everything at home is done quickly and well. Miss Lilith deserves the award. This is because a certain housekeeper is completely ineffective, so I must take responsibility to the end. Although it was indeed a modest expression, there was a clear target person in Miss Sarite's words. Klaus also has his own responsibilities. When I come back, I will also help with the housework, so forgive him. Excuse me. Mr. Claus returned from parking the car. He first greeted Senior Lilith and Ika slightly, then took Miss Sarite's hand and dragged her into the house. Hey, Miss Lilith, help me. The calm maid just now disappeared. Miss Sarite, who was forcibly taken away by Mr. Claus, cried to senior sister Lilith for help. It seemed that Mr. Claus heard what she just said. Miss Lilith just smiled and waved to Miss Sarah, watching the two of them walk into the depths of the mansion. Klaus and Sarah were in the same class when they were students, and they have always had a good relationship. Is that really a good relationship? Everyone can only reserve their opinions for the time being. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 57. Everyone, please wait in this room for a while. I will go to Mother to make an announcement. With these words behind her, Lilith Senpai left the guest room. After a while, Miss Sarah, who was forcibly taken away by Mr. Claus, came in and served everyone a cup of black tea. Miss Sarah, how long have you worked here? While she was serving tea, Luluo mentioned this issue. From the appearance, Miss Sarah should not be much older than Senior Lilith. Miss Sarah thought for a while. After graduating from Imperial Public Academy, you have been working here for about 5 years, right? She gently pressed her slender fingers against her cheek, still looking unsure. Miss Sarah, may I ask, when you were in the garden before? At that time, I was just excited to see Miss Lilith, whom I hadn't seen for a long time, and I did that rude behavior. In fact, I should be a more stable person in normal times. Miss Sarah, the black tea in the cup overflowed. Ah. I'm sorry. After helping Miss Sarah wipe the tea stains off the table, she had returned to her calm state. Aika will continue to ask unfinished questions. Actually, I don't care about that, but you said at that time that Senior Lilith's mother, Mrs. Elise, is not in a good mood now. Some time ago, Mrs. Elise has been immersed in work in her room since she came back from Frost Moon Academy. Although she is usually in that state, this time she has an inaccessible atmosphere. Miss Sarah showed a troubled expression. It seemed that as the only maid in the mansion, she also had a lot of troubles. Taking this opportunity, you may be able to learn more about the relationship between Senior Lilith and Lady Elise from Miss Sarah. But Aika hesitated here. Then he lost the opportunity. Mrs. Elise walked into the room where Aika and the others were, followed closely by Senior Sister Lilith. Miss Sarah did not continue the conversation, bowed to the two of them and then exited the room. I would like to thank you all for coming today. It should be said that we feel honored to receive the invitation. Aika stood up from her seat and gave a slight salute to Mrs. Elise on behalf of everyone. Mrs. Elise smiled approvingly at Aika. Aika, who lowered her head, did not notice it, but Senior Lilith, who was standing aside, did see it. It's exactly noon now. Please move to the restaurant. The dining room of Senior Lilith's residence is equipped with a long dining table for banquets, and the white tablecloth is spotless. There is a small elegant vase placed at a certain distance, with purple orchids that must have been collected in the garden inserted in it. There are small crystal clear water drops on the petals. I don't know when, the purple orchid has become a symbol of Senior Lilith in Aika's heart. Miss Sarah pushed a silver trolley and placed dishes on the table that were as luxurious as a high-end restaurant. After finishing these tasks, Miss Sarah exited the restaurant and closed the door for them. During the meal, Senior Sister Lilith didn't say much. Madame Elise would occasionally ask Aika some questions about their life at Frost Moon Academy, and the girls, except Aika herself, also responded appropriately one by one. Mrs. Elise did not show any displeasure from beginning to end, which made Aika relieved. After the meal, Lady Elise left these words. Although I am the inviter, my daughter must ask that she be responsible for your life in the house these 2 days. If you are willing. Mrs. Elise may have considered that Aika and the others were all students and did not understand the rules and regulations of noble families. If it were Lilith Senpai who took care of them, it wouldn't be too restrictive. For Lilith Senpai, this would be a good opportunity to repay them. Senior Lilith went to Madame Elise's room just to discuss this matter. Considering that there is nothing wrong, Ms. Elise will agree to her daughter's request and ask for everyone's opinions like now. We don't mind at all. Although it's a pity that we can't communicate with you further, through this relationship, we can also learn more things from Senior Lilith that we can't come across in Frost Moon Academy. As our senior, there are indeed many things we need to ask Senior Sister Lilith for advice. After Ika, Luoluo also politely echoed Ika's opinion. Ms. Elise, I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to entertain us this time. Probably because she was used to this kind of formal occasion, Wei 11 completely entered the role of a Knight of the Holy See in front of Madame Elise. Although Ms. Elise had not had much contact with the Holy See, she had heard of Wei 11's name from time to time, so she was not surprised by her maturity that did not match her age. And we also hope to understand Senior Lilith's daily life. If we can learn even a little bit, it will also improve our own quality. Having said that, when Ling and Senior Sister Lilith stand together, they are like two ladies of the world, without any violation. Although it is difficult to notice when you are so close to Ling in daily life, but with someone to compare with, you can immediately notice her natural beauty formed by her background. So just like that, Senior Sister Lilith replaced Ms. Elise and became everyone's guide in the mansion. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 58. The afternoon was basically spent visiting the mansion, which covers an extremely large area. The area of 20,000 square meters is the territory of Senior Lilith's family. The buildings of the mansion are not built together, but are scattered in various areas. Ika and the others were in the main hall just now. The second and third floors of the main hall are integrated design libraries. According to Lilith's introduction, the number of books here is close to the first 3 floors of Shimizuki Academy's library. Most of the books here are reference materials for Madame Elise's work, and there are also some books that Senior Lilith has no idea of their use. There are also many literary works, which really fit the impression of Lilith Senpai as a literary girl. The annex building on the east side is connected to the main hall. The first floor is the room for the servants, and the second floor is the room for Senior Lilith and the unused guest room. Lady Elise's room was built together with her office, so the entire third floor was used. Then, now passing through the western promenade, the swimming pool gleams in the sunlight. If you look closely, you will see that the swimming pool is not an open-air design, but has walls and roofs made entirely of glass, creating the illusion of an open-air space. Wow! So there is a place like this at home. Luoluo ran excitedly to the edge of the pool and put her hand into the cold water, with an expression of great enjoyment on her face. Wei 11 walked carefully to Luoluo, squatted down, and imitated her reaching out her hand into the water. But because of her smaller stature, she leans forward more. Be careful. Ling walked behind Wei 11 and hugged her waist so that she could safely touch the water. Thank you, Sister Ling. There's no need to say thank you for such a small thing. Ling turned her head to the side shyly, but her grip on Wei 11 did not relax. At times like this, just accept it frankly. What does it have to do with you? Oops. Ika deliberately spread her hands in a helpless manner. Senior Lilith looked at the interaction between them, covered her mouth and laughed, and then made a suggestion. It's been a while since we finished lunch, and we just walked around the house for a long time. How about we take a rest here for a while? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the hottest time on land. It would be a great pleasure to soak your body in the cold water at this time, so Senior Lilith's proposal was unanimously approved. As for swimsuits, there are many styles in the preparation room. Senior Sister Lilith pointed to the small room located inside the swimming pool. Of course there are men's styles as well. You can just choose what you like. Brother, you are not allowed to peek. Why do you use the statement that I am already a habitual offender? Don't worry, Lugo, he is not the kind of guy who takes his own life lightly. Ling went around in circles and verbally warned Ika about the consequences of peeping. I believe brother Ika. As far as I know, Ika-san would never do something like that. Fortunately, there are two angels here, so that Ika's scarred soul can be soothed. I'll wait for you here after I finish changing. After watching Ika enter the men's preparation room, the girls began to move to another preparation room talking and laughing. The nobles are indeed a wealthy family, and the swimsuits in the preparation room are all brand new, and they are fully prepared in various sizes. Senior Lilith explained that this was done in advance for guests who would visit here at any time. Way 11, I found a style that suits you. When comparing two different swimsuits, Ling suddenly said this. Eh? Really? Hearing what Ling said, Way 11 quickly came to her side in small steps. Before that, Way 11 was struggling painfully on the edge of her self-esteem. If she can give up her inner subtle resistance, there are many cute styles in children's swimwear that suit her, but no one has glanced in that direction. If she reaches out to children's swimwear, in Luoluo's words, she will. There is a feeling of losing. Ling's words brought hope to Way 11. In her eyes, Ling was as dazzling as a goddess who spread infinite light onto the chaotic land. After taking the swimsuit handed to her by Ling, Way 11 unfolded it in front of her. In the full-length mirror in front of her, she could roughly see what it would look like after putting it on. The two-piece design in pink tones and the lace top do not overemphasize the breasts. Even Way 11, who is still growing in size, can be perfectly wrapped in it. Although the overall design cannot be called mature, it still exudes an adult feel. Way 11 was very satisfied. Sister Ling, thank you very much. Without waiting for Ling to answer, she excitedly got into the small cubicle for changing clothes with her swimsuit. Ling smiled bitterly as she watched Way 11 hang the casual clothes she took off on the wall, then turned around and whispered to Senior Lilith to confirm. Senior Lilith, if I guess correctly, is that swimsuit? Well, maybe Sarite accidentally hung up in the wrong position. Way 11 had almost finished changing. Ling and Lilith, who knew the truth, ended their whisper as soon as possible. Can you choose this one? Well, it feels good to be simple. Where is Senior Lilith? Me? Well, I'd better wear the same style I wore before. Ling chose a white bikini with a simple design, while Lilith skillfully chose a blue and white one with an apron design. Classmate Luoluo, have you made your choice? Luoluo, who was asked by senior sister Lilith, turned around with a red face. What's wrong, Luoluo? Ling, confused by Luoluo's reaction, walked over to her. After seeing her take off her swimsuit, conventional wisdom was shaken. Luoluo chose a black three-point swimsuit that required great courage to pick up. I haven't changed it yet, maybe because I don't have enough courage in my heart. Lolo. Ling chose her words carefully and decided on the words that she thought could encourage her. Spring is too short, so go ahead and do it. After that, Lolo failed to accept the breath of freedom and returned to a simple and loose style. The sparkling afternoon was spent in the swimming pool with clear water splashing from time to time. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 59. After dinner, the girls who had relaxed in the bathroom made an appointment to gather in Lilith Senpai's room, but Ika was the only one who didn't get permission to join. It is reasonable and shows understanding. After taking a bath in another empty bathroom, Ika put on the guest bathrobe prepared by Miss Sarit. The cyan bathrobe was just the right size for her. Although he was allowed to visit freely, it was rude to wander alone in the mansion without Senior Lilith's company, so Ika walked through the main hall door to the night garden. The garden is not silent at night. The evening breeze in summer is strong. From time to time, the rustling of leaves can be heard from the surrounding woods. The chirping of insects, one of the signs of summer, is also constantly heard. Ika strolled slowly along the path in the garden that she had walked on when she came here. Returning to the East End full of memories, with the bright starry sky above her head, Ika naturally thought of the girl she hadn't seen for a long time. I learned from Way 11 that Liuyan is still staying in the Holy See, and you should be able to see her there. As he continued walking forward, Ika vaguely heard bursts of sound breaking through the air. This mansion does not seem to be equipped with special security personnel, and it is conceivable that someone with evil intentions will break into it. Ika became more vigilant, walked lightly and moved towards the source of the sound based on his feeling. But after confirming the source of the sound, his worries disappeared. Mr. Ika. Mr. Claus was obviously very surprised that Ika appeared in this place at this time. The bamboo knife held in both hands was hovering in mid-air. Now he is not wearing the formal butler uniform that he wore in the morning, but the same men's bathrobe as Ika. Judging from the sweaty look on his face, he should have been practicing air swings here a long time ago. No wonder Ika didn't meet him in the bathroom. Good evening, Mr. Claus. Ika raised her hand in greeting and walked towards Mr. Claus. He also put down the bamboo knife in his hand and responded to Ika's greeting. Isn't Mr. Ika with Miss Lilith and the others? To put it simply, they were kicked out, haha. I see. After a simple sentence, Mr. Claus nodded in understanding. Well, Mr. Claus doesn't need to use honorifics to me. I'm just a student and I'm not used to this kind of etiquette. That's it, then can I just call you by your name? Well, that's enough. I understand. It seems like you don't have anything special to do now. Since we meet here by chance, would you like to take a walk in this garden together? After waiting for Mr. Claus to put the bamboo knife back in the utility room not far away, the two men slowly walked along the huge garden under the guidance of the faint moonlight. Mr. Claus, do you often practice swordsmanship? After seeing his skillful and powerful air swings, Ika naturally thought of this. It would be better to say that this is my main job. Mr. Claus smiled and corrected Ika's misunderstanding. As a housekeeper, I am also the only guard here, so I cannot waste this only advantage. The only advantage? Did you hear Sarat complaining about me today? Mr. Claus's smile turned into a bitter smile, as she said, I can't do anything about housework. Even if I really go to help, but it will get in the way. There was a subtle emotion in his helpless tone. I heard from senior sister Lilith, are you and Miss Sarat in the same class? Did Miss Lilith even tell you such a thing? Mr. Claus shrugged incredulously, it is indeed the case. We both graduated from the Imperial Knight Academy at the same time, and Sarat has always been my classmate. Table. Ika has heard about the Imperial Knight Academy. It is one of the many academies affiliated with the Empire and is mainly open to ordinary citizens. The courses there are very comprehensive, covering science, technology, magic theory, etc. It is a very well-known closed-managed academy in the Empire. No wonder Mr. Claus swung his sword so skillfully just now, that's why. Although he is a guard, in fact, he has never been put to use so far. For Mrs. Elise and Miss Lilith, it should be something to be happy about. Mr. Claus waved his hand, and you saved Miss Lilith from the hands of a monster, so the title of guard is more suitable for you than for me. It was just good luck that time. After being praised by Mr. Claus, who was much more mature than herself, Ika responded modestly, I have only been attending Shimatsuki Academy for a month, and I can't even control magic power. Well, they don't know anything about fighting, and each of them is much stronger than me. Do they refer to the three girls next to you? Mr. Claus showed an interested tone. What I know about you is only the incident that Mrs. Elise said. If you are willing, I want to know more about Miss Lilith's benefactor. There was still a lot of time tonight, so Ika briefly introduced the three girls to Mr. Claus, and talked about some trivial things experienced during the trip. Mr. Claus has been listening. Except for expressing his opinions when he is interested, the rest of the time he listens silently. After passing through the arcade surrounded by green plants, Aika's words came to an end. It was indeed a very rewarding journey. Your parents made the right decision. I never felt this way at first, but now I slowly begin to understand their thinking. Parents always think about their children. Although I don't have children, I can't understand this state of mind. Mr. Claus burst out laughing after laughing at himself, and Aika couldn't help laughing. By the way, Mr. Claus, what is the current relationship between Senior Lilith and Ms. Elise? Although I have some understanding from Senior Lilith before, there are still some things I don't understand. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Aika wanted to get something from the man who had watched Senior Lilith grow up that she had not yet said. Now that Miss Lilith has told you about this matter, you should know the main reason, right? Well, is it because Madame Elise objects to Senior Lilith becoming a national magician? That's right. Mr. Claus nodded in agreement. I heard that Senior Lilith's father died as a national magician. Miss Lilith, have you even told you such a thing? If it is to keep Senior Lilith away from danger, Ms. Elise's objection is indeed reasonable. But there is no need to go to this step, right? Cutting off the supply of funds to Lilith Senpai, this extreme move was difficult for Aika to understand for the two people who depended on each other. Not just Aika, everyone would have had the same idea. Unless there is a deeper reason forcing Lady Elise to do this. I am just a hired person, so what I know is just hearsay. Miss Lilith has never taken the initiative to tell us the details of this matter, and I only know so much about you. Therefore, I am very envious of just one person. You has gained Ms. Lilith's full trust in you. Aika himself didn't know the reason for his trust in Senior Lilith. Senior Lilith is not the kind of girl who is rash, her actions are always the result of careful consideration. So, what exactly does this trust in yourself rest on? Sorry, I can't help you. Mr. Claus stopped, his tone full of bitterness. Aika waved her hands hurriedly. There's no need to care so much. In fact, it's just me meddling. No, Mr. Claus suddenly loudly denied Aika, Miss Lilith has already reached out to you, and is this just your attitude? His raised voice was full of anger, and the gentle impression he had always given was gone. I'm sorry, but I can really feel relieved when I hear you say that. Aika was not frightened by Mr. Claus's momentum, as if he had expected this reaction. I never knew that is the decision the right one? If it were Mr. Claus, who has lived in this home for 5 years, his words would put my mind at ease more than anyone else's words could. Klaus is right. If Mr. Aika can't persist, I will punish you on behalf of Miss Lilith. A female voice came from behind, and Aika turned around in a hurry, only to bump into the other person. Not caring about feeling the soft feeling, Aika quickly backed away and left her body. Miss Sarat. Obviously there's no need to leave in such a hurry. What are you talking about? Cellite, how did you find this place? Mr. Claus frowned at the uninvited guest. Let me tell you, on such a beautiful night, is this the first thing you say to the lady you meet? Miss Sarat waved her arms angrily, but Mr. Claus still looked as impatient as ever. First of all, you are not a lady, and the word encounter is not the right word here. Have you finished your work? Humph, a guy who doesn't do anything has no right to ask me this kind of question. Miss Sarat, Aika awkwardly intervened in the cross-talk between the two, how on earth did you notice us? Since Miss Sarat said that before, she had completely heard the conversation between herself and Mr. Claus. Well. Miss Sarat looked away with a guilty conscience. I had already found you when I heard Klaus's giggle. But then you seemed to have talked about a very serious topic. It's not good to interrupt you, so I have to follow you all the time. Is that really the case? Mr. Claus pressed his forehead helplessly. He probably felt at a loss because his true words were heard by Miss Sarat. However, Miss Sarah is also thinking about us. Ika quickly smoothed things over for Miss Sarah. Mr. Claus, thank you so much for tonight. Thanks to your words, I have really thought about it clearly. Just do what you want. Mr. Claus patted Ika on the shoulder. I'll leave it to you to take care of Miss Lilith. Ika said goodbye to Mr. Claus and Miss Sarah, who stayed in the arcade, and the sound of their conversation gradually faded away behind them. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 60. Back to half an hour ago, 4 girls gathered in Senior Lilith's room, and the pajama party had just begun. Since I had already told Miss Sarah that I would entertain the guests, Senior Lilith is now preparing tea for everyone. What is this? Lulu picked up the book with a pink cover from the low table where they were sitting. On the cover was a picture of a pair of boys and girls facing each other. The Forest of Oslo. Lingyi approached Lulu with interest and read out the title of the book in a low voice. Is the atmosphere on the cover a romance novel? Wei 11 picked up another book on the table. The content inside was displayed in the form of comics. Wei 11 casually turned back a few pages, then suddenly closed the book with a blushing face. Huh? What's wrong with Wei 11? Relative. Relative. Mouth to mouth. Show me. Taking the pocket-sized book from Wei 11's trembling hand, Ling quickly flipped through a few pages. Although she didn't react as big as Wei 11, her face turned slightly red. Sister Ling. Lulu also became curious about the comic. After all, it is difficult to know what the content is in a novel full of text in a short time, but it is easy to understand a comic. However, as soon as Lulu leaned over, Ling quickly closed the book in his hand, blushing, and inserted the book in his hand into the bookshelf behind him. It's just an ordinary shoujo manga. Yeah. If it was really just an ordinary comic, there would be no need to hide it. Since Ling is so insistent that he doesn't want to know, then just pretend that he doesn't care and try again later if he has a chance. The aroma of black tea filled the room. Senior Sister Lilith brought the teapot containing the freshly brewed black tea, and then poured about 2/3 of the tea into the teacup with skillful movements. The noble-looking white porcelain tea set contrasts with the bright red and bright brown colors, showing a hazy beauty of artistic conception. Senior Lilith also prepared snacks for tea, which were placed on a small plate in the middle of the low table. Although I learned how to make tea from Sarite, I still can't make it as fragrant as hers. I'm really sorry. No, 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 this level is enough to open a store by myself. Ling gently held the tea seed with her left hand, wrapped the fingers of her right hand around the handle of the teacup, and took a small sip at her mouth. Lulu and Wei 11 were completely imitating Ling in their holding teacups. They had no knowledge of etiquette in this area. Thank you. Senior Sister Lilith held her cheek and thanked Ling for the compliment with a smile. Besides, I haven't been back here for a long time, and I don't do this kind of thing much. Shimizuki Academy is quite far from here. This is one of the reasons. Senior Lilith, those dolls are so cute. Wei 11 suddenly became interested in the stuffed toys neatly arranged on the shelf next to Senior Sister Lilith's bed. Sure enough, Wei 11 thinks so too. Senior Sister Lilith seemed to have finally found a confidant and held Wei 11's hands. Selite always laughs at me, saying that someone at my age is not suitable to do anything anymore. They were placed in the room. Senior Lilith didn't seem to notice the age difference between Wei 11 and her. Senior Lilith probably didn't notice it herself, but Lulu and Ling knew it. Wei 11's purpose of doing this was to change the subject. Ika has already learned about the bad relationship between Senior Lilith and Mrs. Elise, and the trend of the topic just now may bring out some gloomy things. In this rare free time, no one is willing to let that kind of thing ruin the peaceful atmosphere at this moment. Ika said before that he would act within his ability regarding Senior Lilith. In this case, just leave it to him. What they need to do is to silently support Ika in different aspects and create conditions for him and Senior Lilith. For example, right now. Before you entered Shimizuki Academy, you lived in the East District, right? Well, the place we lived before seems to be in the opposite direction from here. I judged it from the big clock in the Royal Capital Defense Bureau. I don't know if it is correct. The building of the Royal Capital Defense Bureau is the tallest building in the entire East District, and the big clock on the roof can be seen from anywhere in the East District. Luoluo remembered that when everyone returned to Liuyin's house, they were heading away from the big clock, but this time they were approaching the big clock, so Luoluo judged it like this. That big clock is indeed a good landmark, Senior Sister Lilith nodded, but that's not a residential area over there. A familiar friend happens to have a house there, so I temporarily stayed at her place before Shimizuki Academy started. Ling called Liuyin a friend, and both Wei 11 and Luoluo were surprised for a moment. Ling Xiren noticed the meaningful smiles between the two of them, and she raised her arms a little embarrassedly, but of course this could not completely cover her slightly red cheeks. Hey, that's it? Senior Lilith had no intention of asking who that friend was, which made Ling sigh in relief. Regardless of whether Luoluo and Wei 11 had guessed it or not, he was unwilling to admit their thoughts in person. Senior Lilith, what kind of books do you usually read? Ling and Wei 11 were stunned when they heard Luoluo ask this question. As long as most people see the bookshelf in Senior Lilith's room, they will naturally ask this question. But of course Ling and Wei 11, who already knew the answer, would not ask. It must not be convenient for Senior Sister Lilith to reveal her secret hobby. She didn't know that when her back was turned to everyone just now, the low table had no time to close up. The book has been completely exposed. Well, mainly classical literature and ordinary romance novels. Unexpectedly, Senior Lilith gave the answer normally. Normal. The cartoon just now actually belongs to the ordinary category? No, Lilith Senpai thinks that ordinary ones are just romance novels and did not mention romance comics. Luoluo and Wei 11 were in confusion because they didn't know the so-called answer, but Luoluo certainly wouldn't care about such small details. It's a romance novel. Sure enough, Lilith Senpai is also interested in love. This should be the biggest dream of a girl's life, Senior Sister Lilith said with a longing face, but the novel is just an imaginary story after all. The story it depicts is too beautiful, just like a dream. Same. Senior Lilith, do you have someone you like in real life? There are many people who like it? No, I mean. If it's the kind of love that presupposes marriage, then it really doesn't exist. Senior Lilith answered Ling's question in this way. So, is there anyone you care about? Wei 11 still didn't give up. When the topic of love was brought up, her eyes visibly lit up. Well. Senior Sister Lilith held her chin and thought for a while, if you really want to say it, yes. Is he a boy of the same age? Could it be that he is a classmate? He's a boy younger than me. We've met each other when we were kids. Senior Lilith's voice became softer due to shyness. When I was 7 years old, he saved a man who was about to die. How romantic. Children of Wei 11's age especially yearn for this kind of story. Not only Wei 11, Luoluo and Ling were also interested in this. After all these years, do you still remember that boy? Do you still have contact with him now? You ask so many questions at once. Lilith smiled bitterly, I didn't have much communication with him at that time. After that, I was taken back by my father and mother. Senior Lilith's eyes showed a look of nostalgia. So I didn't get his contact information, but I have never forgotten this matter. As for boys, even if they grow up, their appearance will not change much, right? How should I put it? Ling thought seriously, I don't have a male friend who was my childhood sweetheart, so I can't answer this question. For boys, they should grow taller. If the hairstyle doesn't change a lot, I feel like I can still recognize the original look. There were many boys of similar age in the orphanage where Way 11 lived in the past. Several of them later joined the Holy See, and Way 11 recognized them immediately. She didn't have much contact with the other party. She just remembered their looks. The other party probably only heard of her name, so Way 11 had no intention of reminiscing about the past. If it's my brother, the change is really not that big. Lulu, it's because you've been around him all the time, so it's hard to see. That's probably true. It just feels like my brother has really grown a lot taller. Senior Lilith, can you tell us more about that incident when you were a child? Way 11 expressed her feelings on behalf of everyone, and both Ling and Lulu looked at Senior Lilith with expectant eyes. However, Lilith Senpai just smiled and put her finger to her lips. No, this is a secret between him and me. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 61. The people who visited Aika's room late at night were not the girls he took for granted. In Aika's mind, the possibility of her visiting her room alone should be zero. Good evening, Lady Elise. Aika left a place for the woman in front of her, Ms. Elise, the mother of Senior Lilith and the owner of this mansion, to pass. Excuse me, Ms. Elise nodded to Aika and walked into the room. Can I take up your time for a while, Your Excellency Aika? I think you should already know, Ms. Elise looked directly into Aika's eyes. If possible, I would like to talk to you about my daughter, Lilith. Lady Elise was right. When Aika saw her for the first time, she guessed that what she was about to say would have something to do with Senior Lilith. Because Senior Sister Lilith is the only bridge between Ms. Elise and him. Do you want me to help Senior Lilith give up her dream? If I need to sum it up in one sentence, this is it. If it were Aika before this, he would definitely not agree. But a conversation with Lady Elise made him hesitate. Before that, Aika believed that the reason for Ms. Elise's objection was that she was worried that Senior Lilith would end up like her husband. If there is any prejudice caused by this, Aika wants to eliminate it. However, this is not only Lady Elise, but also the protagonist of the tragedy. If Senior Lilith's father himself requests it, he really does not have enough reasons to interfere with it. On the day of return, time always passes faster than usual. Under the leadership of Senior Lilith, everyone visited the local scenic spots outside the mansion in the morning. Near noon, everyone enjoyed the delicious rice balls made by Senior Lilith and Lulu in the open space they had determined when they came. According to Lulu, a particularly high-end sauce is added to the rice balls, so he doesn't know what it will taste like. Senior Lilith, who hasn't been home for a long time, doesn't know what the new sauces are. Since Selite went out to buy the condiments herself, there shouldn't be anything too weird. At the instigation of Senior Lilith, Lulu was bold enough to try and added different sauces to different rice balls. To sum up, it was the first time for everyone to taste the food prepared by Lulu with such an uneasy mood. The only good thing is that in addition to rice balls, Lulu and Lilith also thoughtfully prepared drinks for everyone. The sky was gradually dyed fiery red. Everyone had packed their luggage, and Ms. Elise sent everyone to the gate of the mansion. Mr. Claus had parked his car on the side of the road, ready to leave at any moment. I've been disturbed a lot these past 2 days. Senior Lilith stood beside Aika saying goodbye. She had no special expression for Ms. Elise. While everyone was packing their luggage, Aika happened to see her going to the 3rd floor, which was Ms. Elise's room. In this not-so-long period of time, Senior Sister Lilith has conveyed everything she wanted to say to Ms. Elise. Finally, Ms. Elise expressed her expectation for everyone to visit again. In this way, the short weekend vacation came to an end. However, what Aika needs to do cannot even be called a beginning.